Today, we're diving into probably the toughest part of anyone's job in management or HR, letting someone go. Yeah, I know. Not exactly the cheeriest of topics today, right? Sorry. So I still remember my first time having to fire somebody. I was 20 years old. I had just recently been promoted to a leadership role at Pizza Hut, and I had to let this guy go who was literally 20 years older than me. My hands were sweating so much I had to wipe them on my pants under the table. I'm pretty sure I mumbled through half of it. It was an absolute disaster. Fast forward to today, and I've had the unfortunate honor of firing thousands of people throughout my career. So trust me when I say I get it. This isn't the most glamorous part of the job. Nobody goes into management thinking, man, I can't wait to crush somebody's spirit and send them home to tell their partner that they lost their job today. Look, it's messy. It's uncomfortable. And if you're a halfway decent human being, it probably keeps you up at night sometimes. But here's the thing. Sometimes firing somebody is absolutely necessary. Companies change, roles evolve, and occasionally people just aren't cutting it. And when that happens, there's a right way and about 1,000 wrong ways that you can handle it. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Thrive. I spent decades in corporate America, so you don't have to. I help people escape the 9-to-5 rat race and use their knowledge to create their own business so they can start living life on their own terms. If you're looking to do the same, download my free Escape the 9-to-5 Blueprint through the link in the description. Before we jump into the how-to, let's talk about something most HR guides skip over: the psychological impact of firing someone. When you tell someone they're being let go, you're not just taking away their paycheck, you're messing with their identity, their sense of purpose, their daily routine, and potentially their self-worth. I interviewed Dr. Rebecca Jameson, workplace psychologist, and she told me being fired activates the same regions in our brain as physical pain. It's literally a form of social rejection that humans are hardwired to find traumatic. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it when necessary, but understanding this reality should inform you on how you approach this entire process. So step one, are you sure? Like really sure? First things first, you need concrete reasons to fire somebody. And I'm not talking about Dave's energy brings down the team meetings, man, or Sarah just doesn't seem to get our culture. I'm talking about documented, specific, defensible reasons. Let me tell you about a client of mine. We'll call him Mark. Mark wanted to fire his marketing director because he, quote, didn't bring enough creative ideas to the table. When I asked for examples, he hummed and hawed and eventually admitted he couldn't point to a single instance where they'd asked for ideas and received none. What he actually meant was, I don't personally click with this person. Look, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen, folks. Before you fire anyone, ask yourself these questions. Have I clearly communicated the expectations to this person? Have they received specific feedback about where they're falling short? Have I provided resources, training, or support to help them improve? And had this person had reasonable time to address the issues? Would a neutral third party agree that termination is appropriate based on the evidence? If you're wavering on any of these, pump the brakes. You might not be ready to take this step just yet. Step two, document, then document some more. Listen, I know paperwork is about as exciting as watching paint dry in slow motion, but when it comes to terminations, documentation isn't just busy work, it's your shield against potential disaster. My former colleague Jamal learned that the hard way. He verbally warned an employee multiple times about consistent tardiness, but never documented it. When they finally fired her, she filed for wrongful termination, claiming she was never told it was an issue. Without documentation, the company settled for a hefty sum rather than fight it out in court. Your documentation should include dated performance reviews showing the issues, notes from one-on-one meetings where problems were discussed, any performance improvement plans like PIPs or action plans, and then the outcomes of those, email exchanges addressing concerns, violations of specific company policies, and comparative data showing standards for similar positions. Remember, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. Step three, timing isn't just about the day of the week. Everyone loves to debate the perfect day to fire someone. Tuesday, Thursday, National Donut Day, and it's definitely not the last one. While midweek is generally preferred since it gives people time to process and start their job search before the weekend, there's more to timing than just the day. Avoid firing someone on their birthday or work anniversary. Yeah, you can check their employee file with HR. Don't terminate right after they've completed a major project or scored a big win. Be mindful of personal circumstances, if you're aware of them, like recent family illness, a new baby, etc. Never fire someone in the middle of a crisis they're actively helping manage. And for the love of everything, don't fire someone someone right before a holiday break. Nothing says Merry Christmas quite like unemployment. And always take partners and use HR. You never fire alone. I once had a boss who laid off 15% of the company on December 23rd, then sent out a cheery Happy Holidays email an hour later. The remaining staff's morale tanked so hard we needed industrial equipment to dig it back up. Step 4, the termination meeting. It's not improv night. When the day comes, you need a script. Not to sound robotic, but to make sure you hit all of the important points without getting flustered or emotional. Here's what a solid termination conversation sounds like. James, I've asked you this meeting today to discuss your employment. After reviewing your performance against the goals we set during our last few check-ins, we've made the decision to end your employment with the company effective immediately. As we've discussed previously, we needed to see significant improvement in your project delivery timelines and client communication. And despite the additional resources and training provided, we haven't seen the progress needed for this role. Notice what this does. It gets straight to the point without cruel bluntness. It references previous discussions that you've documented. It clearly states the effective date. It specifies the reasons without getting personal, and it acknowledges the support that you provided. What you absolutely should not do. Start with 15 minutes of small talk. It's cruel and it's confusing. Make it about your feelings. This is really hard for me. Over apologize or backtrack. I'm sorry, but maybe if things were different, or HR made me do it. And don't get defensive before they've even responded. And don't make promises you cannot keep. We'll definitely give you an amazing reference. I witnessed a termination once where the manager spent 10 minutes talking about the weekend football game before dropping the bomb. The employee later said it was the worst part, feeling like he was having a friendly chat only to get blindsided. Step number 5, the logistics. Be prepared for everything. Once you've delivered the news, you need to handle the practical stuff. Have final paycheck details ready. Prepare a written termination letter. Know exactly how benefits will be handled. Have severance information if applicable. Be clear about returning company property. Have someone ready to help with immediate desk clearing if necessary. Additionally, be prepared for different emotional reactions. Anger. Remain calm. Acknowledge feelings without engaging in arguments. Tears. Have tissues ready and offer them a moment to compose themselves before they walk out. Bargaining. Be compassionate, but be firm about the decision. This was a company decision, not a personal decision. Shock. Be prepared to repeat information as they might not be able to process all of it. A colleague of mine once fired someone who simply sat there in silence for 5 full minutes. She got so uncomfortable she started filling the silence with additional explanations and accidentally promised things the company could not deliver. Don't make that mistake. Step 6, the team communication. Once the person has left the building, you've got maybe 30 minutes before rumors start flying. Get ahead of it with clear, respectful communication to the team. Things to include: straightforward statement about the departure, who will handle their responsibilities in the interim, how clients or projects will be managed moving forward, and a reminder about company confidentiality policies. Here's what you need to avoid: sharing specific reasons for the termination. Never do this. Disparaging the former employee, making promises about immediate replacement, and ignoring the emotional impact on the team. The person may have had friends on the team. Tread carefully. I worked with a director who gathered his team after firing their colleague and said, "Just so you all know, Bob's gone because he couldn't hack it. Let this be a warning to all of you." Not only was this wildly inappropriate, but it also destroyed team trust completely overnight. Step 7, the follow-through. It doesn't end when they walk out. After someone has been terminated, ensure their final paycheck is processed correctly. Provide clear information about continuation of benefits. Honor any commitments made regarding references. Conduct an exit interview if both parties are willing. Document the entire process for your records. One often overlooked aspect: if the termination was due to a role elimination rather than performance, keep in touch regarding potential future openings. I've seen companies fire people during downturns only to rehire them as contractors at higher rates 6 months later because they burnt their bridge. The human element. Dignity above all. Throughout this process, remember that you're dealing with a human being whose life is about to be significantly disrupted. Even if termination is absolutely necessary and justified, how you handle it says everything about you as a leader and your company as an organization. Small things matter. Don't make them clean out their desk while colleagues watch. Have leadership partner with security and have everything shipped to their home. Consider allowing them to resign rather than be fired if the circumstances permit for it, and provide resources for job search assistance if possible. Be mindful of their dignity in every interaction. I once worked with a CEO who personally walked a terminated employee to her car, thanked her for her contributions, and made sure she knew knew the door wasn't permanently closed for the future. Years later, that same employee became a valuable client of the company, specifically citing how she was treated during her departure as a reason for doing so. Final thoughts. The measure of leadership. The true measure of leadership isn't how you behave when things are going well, it's how you handle the difficult moments. Firing someone might be necessary, but cruelty never is. Remember, be thorough in your documentation, be clear in your communication, be compassionate in your approach, and be consistent in your practices. Be honest with yourself about why you're making this decision. Firing someone will never be fun and it will never be easy, but doing it with integrity, clarity, and humanity will help both you and the employee move forward with minimal damage. And before I wrap up, I want to share something a mentor once told me. You'll be judged not by who you hire, but how you fire. In a world where jobs come and they go, and careers span multiple companies, your reputation as a leader who handles even the toughest situations with grace will follow you far longer than any quarterly results and be imprinted in your personal brand. If you've got termination stories, the good, the bad, or the ugly, drop them in the comments below. And if you're currently facing the prospect of letting someone go, remember, do it with dignity, document everything, and for heaven's sake, don't do it on their birthday. Catch you next time. Like if you like, sub if you sub, share if you share. I'm Thrive. Bye.